Morning, folks. Distinguished guest, Robert, Dean Dr. Bala, my fellow board members, Associate Director, Associate Dean Vaidi, fellow faculty and colleagues, all the students and parents and other distinguished guests present here. It's definitely a huge privilege for me to be given this opportunity to address you. I definitely did not expect this. 4 hours back I landed from the US, in kind of a semi-dazed state, and here I find myself talking to you. Such is the uncertainty that Dr. Bala spoke about, and as it so happens, the airline misplaced my suitcases as well. So I landed here with no clothes, and I'm right now standing in front of you in borrowed clothes. So, as Dr. Bala said, uncertainty is inevitable, worrying is optional, right? So be it. So when I was asked to talk to you, I started thinking, some of you have already spoken to, what can you have to now bear with me, and I thought, how do I make this worth your while? And I remembered about 13 years back, I was exactly in a situation like this, attending my own convocation at Stanford Business School, and the convocation chief guest and speaker at that time was Steve Jobs. And he gave his "Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish" speech. Right, so naturally that's a great place to take inspiration from, right? It's something that I remember very, very vividly, and what he said absolutely made so much sense. Those of you who haven't heard that or read that speech, I strongly recommend that you do. Now, while those appealed to me a lot, so I took inspiration from that, and I said, okay, what are the things that I have experienced, I have learned over the past 20 years of my professional career that I could share with you that might be of some use. So that's what I'm going to do in the next 10 minutes or so. I think the first and most important thing is to find out sooner or rather than later, what is it that you care about? In other words, find your passion. It took me a while. It took me multiple things and multiple arenas, domains, before I could find my own passion. To give you some personal history, I went to the US to do my PhD program at Berkeley, like most students at IIT. And then only after I spent a couple of years there, I realized that I do not want to be an academic, I do not want to be a professor, and actually want to be an entrepreneur, right? This is late 90s in the Bay Area. Entrepreneurship was at an all-time high. It was everywhere, and it was very, very invigorating. So I dropped out of my PhD, became a technology entrepreneur, helped build a tech company, fantastic experience, really enjoyed doing that, and then went to business school. When I went to business school, it made me really think about what is it that I wanted to do. And I realized that I actually don't care about technology for the sake of technology. Right? There are many people in Silicon Valley who just love technology. They like technology for the sake of technology. And I realized that I'm not one of them. For me, technology is a tool. It's a mechanism to solve a problem in the world. Right? And I found too much of what happens in Silicon Valley to be technology for the sake of technology. Technology that solves very incremental problems, right? Or technology that solves first world problems, and I could not associate with that. I decided to move back to India. That's something that I always wanted to do. India, unlike the US, has many fundamental problems, and I always found that appealing, right? After business school, I became an investor. I thought at that time that being an investor is a very good way to have impact, right? And that's what I wanted to do. So I first became a venture capitalist, then I became a private equity investor at a fund called Tiger Global that many of you may have heard about. and did that for several years. About 4 years into it, I realized that even that is not evoking enough of a passion in me, right? Financially, it was very lucrative, it was very rewarding, I was having a very good life, but somehow the impact that I wanted to have, I couldn't see it. You know, we're using money to make more money, right? And somehow it didn't seem like, you know, money is enough, right? You know, when you don't have anything, that seems like, you know, what you want, right? But many people will realize that once you have enough money, right, enough money to have a comfortable life, that may not be good enough. And that's definitely something that I realized, right? You know, if by the age of 30, 32, I was feeling like that, I still have, you know, many decades ahead of me, what am I going to do? It's really at that time in 2009 when the financial crisis happened and there was a quiet period where nothing was going on for 6 months, as I thought about what I wanted to do, is when I think I found what my passion is, and that's how I got into education, right? And I felt that education is the best way to have impact. And as I thought more about it, what is it that changed my life? It's quality education. And then as I looked around in the country around us, there are many people who go through their entire lives without ever coming close to excellence. Most people in our country never come close to excellence. You are among the fortunate few that have actually experienced excellence. Most people in our country never get to experience excellence. And I've traveled a lot in India, I've interacted with folks in many places, and I know this from first-hand experience. People do not get a chance to experience excellence. And when they do that, it changes their life. All of your life is going to change because of the experience you've had in Great Lakes, right? I believe that inherently people want to get better. But for them to get better, you need to know what better means. And that is what you know when you experience excellence, right? So that's where I found my passion. My goal, my objective, my purpose for life is to have as many people as possible experience excellence. And I believe that when they do that, their life will change. So one of the lessons that Steve Jobs shared is that the dots always connect when you look back. That was one of his points, right? And it's a very interesting that's happening with me, right? I did technology, I did investing, and I had very good education, right? All of these make me very uniquely qualified to actually bring technology into education. And that's exactly what we are doing at Great Learning, using technology to scale excellence, to enable as many people as possible experience excellence, right? So I strongly encourage all of you to always keep looking. What is it that makes you passionate? What is it that you love doing? And keep looking for that. You can find that at 20, you can find that at 30, you may find that at 40, or you may find that at 50. But keep looking for that. Because it's only when you truly find something that you love, you will really have a very, very fulfilling time when you're pursuing that. So that's my first lesson for you. The second is about persistence. In all of my experiences, I knew that I was never the smartest guy or the most talented guy, right? Whether it is the fellow group that I had at IIT or at Berkeley or at Stanford or at my company or even now, right? There's always people who are more talented, there's always people who are smarter, there are always people who may be better educated. But what is not often or is not common is persistence. One of my professors at business school, Jack McDonald, called it stick-to-itiveness, sticking to it. He measured people on how much stick-to-itiveness they had, how much persistence they had. In the end, if you have to accomplish hard objectives, hard goals, the thing that's going to matter the most is persistence. You know, Professor Veeravalli had asked me to see this movie called The Founder. It's the story of McDonald's. Ray Kroc, who built McDonald's into the global company it is today. I actually saw it on the way back on the flight. And there was a line there that I really liked, and that movie is all about this. The key message that Ray Kroc gives is about persistence and determination, right? Ray Kroc was a salesperson for 30 years. He was selling many different kinds of things, machines to make ice cream, you know, machines to make something else, this, that, and the other. He did not succeed in any of those. That's when he came across this one small restaurant in Southern California set up by two brothers called McDonald. And he saw that it was a phenomenal idea to make these things in a standardized manner, to make hamburgers in a very short amount of time in a standardized manner. And he saw the potential to franchise it and scale it. And he was able to scale it very fast. And there's a dialogue in there, there's a line there that says, "We were an instant hit. We were an instant success, 30 years in the making." Right? His business was an instant success, 30 years in the making. He had all the ingredients that he needed because he'd been selling all over the country. He had been selling to food services businesses all over the country. He knew what the problems were. He knew what the customers wanted. Right? So when he saw the right idea, the right solution, he could scale it. It took 30 years for him to see that. You know, you would have heard fortune favors the brave. I've always seen evidence that fortune actually favors the prepared. Right? Every example that I've seen, that's what I've seen. You know, there are exceptions, of course. All of what I've said has exceptions, but those are the exceptions. WhatsApp, Instagram, these things are exceptions, right? That's not the norm. The thing that happens again and again and again is people doing amazing things because of persistence. Any worthwhile endeavor will have obstacles. You will face challenges, you will face setbacks, and all